Okay, today we're going to show you an exercise called deep squat belly breathing with lat stretch. And this is something that I think a lot of people will get freaked out about because maybe they deal with adult clients who spend all day at a desk and they wind up living in a lot of flexion. So doing any sort of flexion-based training really scares them when it comes to actually getting to the gym. The difference with a lot of the athletes that we see is a lot of them absolutely live in extension. So a lot of the exercises that we're working to do with them are geared towards getting that rib cage down a little bit to really create that good zone of apposition where their diaphragm can work to get a little bit of length in those lats, to get some dorsiflexion so we can kind of get them out of that really aggressive anterior weight-bearing posture. So this exercise kind of accomplishes a lot of those, and we'll typically use it right after we finish our foam rolling as a way to kind of work on that squat pattern in people who live in that big aggressive anterior pelvic tilt. So that's where Kyle kind of comes in here. So what we're going to have him do is go right up and put his hands right on the rungs here. Okay. So the first cue I give him is basically make sure you're in that neutral spine. So make a double chin at that cervical spine. And all we're going to have him do is kind of sit back just a little bit, just enough to put a little bit of a stretch on his lats. Okay. Once he's gotten that little bit of a lat stretch, I'm basically going to have him drop down into a squat. And what you'll notice in the process of dropping down, first, we actually create some dorsiflexion. So you can see how Kyle actually pulled out to the side a little bit. So that's a little bit of a compensation pattern. Could be because maybe he doesn't have great hip internal rotation, maybe he's just a heavy pronator, something like that. So minimize how much that out-toeing kicks in. Once we've got that good dorsiflexion, a little bit of ankle mobility, maybe a stretch in that Achilles, the big thing I'm going to cue Kyle to do is 1, keep that cervical spine in neutral. 2, keep that lat stretch. And 3, just think about breathing into his thigh. So basically pushing his belly out and creating kind of that good zone of apposition for his diaphragm to work. Okay. What a lot of people will get freaked out about by this position, like I said, is flexion. But if you look at where Kyle is, he's actually not in end range flexion. If we were going to have him stand up, go over, touch his toes, it'd be pretty dramatically different. So what Kyle did was he went from a position of extension and maybe to just past neutral, whereas someone who lives in flexion would go to neutral or slightly flexed to end range flexion. And it's those end ranges that cause more problems with respect to disc injuries, or on the other end of the spectrum, stress fractures, kind of that acute low back tightness all the time. So the thing that we want to look at with a guy like Kyle is making sure that that's just a normal position for him. It's really not that excessively flexed. So we usually go for about 20 seconds, do at the start of our workout, and from there we'll go to more of our dynamic flexibility exercise and build some stability with other exercises.